Do you ever have a bunch of vocal tracks that you're trying to fit inside of a song but they don't quite seem to work? Well, you are probably missing this one thing. If this is your first time here, I'm Andrew Barr with Producing in the Box, where I teach you how to make incredible sounding music without analog gear, and I think you're better off without it. Now let's get into the DAW. So I have a track here that sounds like this.
I'm so guilty, you'd excuse me, I'd like to catch my breath. I know it's no excuse,
Now, I will say these vocals sounded great when we started recording them. If you want to know how I got these vocals to sound great at the source, scroll down right now and click the top link in the description and you can download my free ultimate guide to recording vocals at home. There is a lot that goes into recording really great vocals before we ever get into the mixing phase. It's free. You can just scroll down right now and click the top link in the description and you can have it for free. So here I have some vocal stacks, and what that is essentially the same vocal stacked over and over and over again. Here I have one main, and then a left and a right, and then another left and a right. All together, they sound like this.
I'm so guilty, if you'd excuse me, I'd like to catch my breath.
Now I'm going to mute the side vocals, so that way you only hear the one vocal.
I'm so guilty, if you'd
I'll bring him back in.
me, I'd like to catch my breath.
And now that's just him singing it at different times. So we put one on the left, one on the right, one on the left, one in the right. So if you want to know why I do that, there's a little thing called the 2-track rule that I love to use to get really wide mixes. I'll put the card up here somewhere if you want to go check that out. But that's not what we're getting into today. I'm really taking a look at all of these, getting them all to work together. So you can do this in any DAW. What I do is I take all of these vocals, and then I put the ones on the left and the ones on the right, and I get them to all sound pretty good. The main vocal should be the loudest, and then the doubles, the lefts and the rights, should all be just supporting that vocal. Then what I do is I take all of these, and I send them to what I call a vocal bus. So this is the bus for all of these vocals. I do the same thing if there's a verse, and then if there's like harmonies and stuff, I do the exact same thing across the board. We'll just focus on this one today. And then what I'm able to do is I'm able to process just the vocal bus. So I still individually processed every single one of these vocals here, but the bus is the cool part. So I'm going to turn the effects on the bus on and off. Then you're going to be able to hear exactly what I'm doing on the bus. So we'll solo it first.
I'm so guilty.
Turn it off.
If you'd excuse me, I'd like to catch
We'll bring
my
it back in.
breath. I know it's no excuse. I'm sick of me. I'm tired of you.
Back in.
And I feel shame.
So I'm really like bringing those vocals out a little bit more, brightening up that mix in the top end. It really makes a big difference in the entirety of the mix. So check this out.
I'm so guilty.
Now we'll turn it off.
You'd excuse me, I'd like to catch my breath.
Turn it back on.
I know it's no excuse. I'm sick of me. I'm tired of you. And I feel shameless. I feel
Yeah, it makes a massive difference. So what I'm doing here on this vocal bus is after I've got the vocals to sound pretty decent by themselves, I've done some EQ, some compression, all of that jazz. Now I'm adding some EQ, compression, a deesser, and then a little bit of fresh air from Slate Digital. This is a free plugin. It's absolutely fantastic. But what I'm doing is I'm treating all of these vocals as a collective whole. So all of these vocals are getting processed through this vocal bus. It kind of glues all the vocals together, brings them in nice and tight, and really gets them to poke through that mix. So first things first, I'm rolling off the low end, cutting some resonant frequencies here. There's just something a little bit brittle up here around 6K. And then I am adding just a slight high shelf to bring out just a little bit of that air. Then I have one compressor that's kind of gluing all the vocals together. Since they're all different takes, they all have their like different dynamics to them to a certain extent. I want to glue everything in together and really make sure that it's one cohesive vocal to be able to poke through the mix. The compression is really the big thing here.
I'm so guilty. You'd excuse
Bring it back in.
me, I'd like to catch my breath.
Turn it
I
off.
know it's no excuse.
I'll bring it back in.
I'm sick of me. I'm tired.
See here, when I bring it back in, it really starts to poke through. The compression is really the biggest deal here. I have some input gain kind of pushing that up just a little bit more. That threshold is bringing it down. And then, of course, I have a 11:1 ratio, 11.5. So that way I'm really actually getting some decent compression. I'm not smashing it too hard, but it's enough compression where I can actually control the vocal and set it exactly where I want to. Now, the next thing I have here is some de-essing. I want to be able to control some of those S's as a collective whole. So that way, anytime someone's vocal is like tss or T's or any consonants, all of those I want to get cut with this de-esser. I'm cutting around 6K, and that's about it.
I'm so guilty. You'd excuse me. I'd like to catch my breath.
You can kind of see every time he says something with T or S, it's starting to really cut those out and get control over that vocal. That's what that gold color is along this graph here. And then at the very end, I have a little bit of fresh air. This is a free plugin. I absolutely love this plugin. You got to be careful with it because you can go a long ways with this and really get things to sound too brittle. But a little bit of the mid-air and a little bit of the high air go a long ways to really get your mixes to kind of sit in the mix the way you want to. It's almost like taking blankets off your speakers. I heard that analogy somewhere about this plugin, and I thought it was a fantastic way to explain it.
I'm so guilty. You'd excuse me. I'd like to catch my
Put it back on.
breath. I know it's no excuse.
It's just boosting just a little bit. Let's take a look with the vocal soloed.
I'm so guilty. If you'd excuse me, I'd like to catch my breath.
I'm just adding just a little bit of that high-end sizzle. But by and large, the compressor is doing the most of the heavy lifting here. I want to get all of the vocals collected together in one bus, and then I can control all the vocals with that one bus. I do separate it out between different like verses, harmonies, different vocalists. I will do that. But for the most part, all the vocals will go to one specific bus. The compressor definitely did most of the heavy lifting. And if you want to know how to run a compressor the right way, you can just click this video right here. In that video, I show you what the coolest analogy is for understanding compression. So that way you can start to feel compression more than you are hearing it. That video also comes with an awesome free guide. So check that out there. And now as always, go create.